Hey, this is James, and in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you one of my favorite spreads to use with playing cards, and that is the answer spread. So stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in and joining me for this viewer requested video. As I shared in the last video that I did for this year, and I'll post a link to that in the description box below if you haven't checked it out. It was my first video for 2021, and I spoke in that video about how I was going to be doing more videos where I'm honoring the request of viewers. And so this particular video comes as a request of those viewers who asked me to do more work with playing cards. You may be familiar that a few years ago I started a series called My Personal Study and Practice of Cartomancy with Playing Cards. And I have to say, surprisingly so, it's been one of the more popular video series on my channel. And so over the course of time, I get requests to do certain things with playing cards. And so a number of people, because when I left that series off, I had spent a lot of time talking about the meanings of the cards. So I spent a huge chunk of time sharing what the cards mean to me when I use them personally. And so some people circled back and asked me if I would be willing to share some sample spreads on how I read with the cards. Do I use directional cues when it comes to the face cards? So I was getting questions along like technique aspects with the playing cards, not so much what they mean. And so I was reminded of that with the most recent request, and it came from a viewer named Barbara. So Barbara, if you're watching this, this is for you. Barbara asked me in a comment, she circled back and she said she was enjoying the series and wanted to know if I would talk more about, like, reading techniques, do I use directional cues, so forth and so on. So I figured this is a perfect time to honor those requests. So in the next segment, I'm going to be sharing with you a spread that is my all-time go-to favorite spread when I'm working with playing cards. It's called the answer spread, and I didn't make it up, so I'm going to give credit where credit is due. I found it in the pages of my favorite book on cartomancy with playing cards, and that is the Card Reader's Handbook. It is a classic book by Regina Russell, and I will be leaving a link in the description box below on how you can acquire the book and add it to your cartomancy collection if it strikes your fancy, seeing the spread that is. It's very straightforward, very easy to do. Okay, so now that I've talked about the spread and the source material for the spread, let's get to the table and take a look at how we lay out the answer spread and then follow that with some sample readings. And here we are with the cards on the table and the deck that I'm going to be working with. Doing these readings is one of my favorite decks. This is the Bicycle Vintage Classic deck. And so I'm going to now show you how to lay out the cards for the answer spread, and then following that we will do a few examples. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to take 6 cards. The reading consists of 6 cards. So once you shuffle the cards in whatever way is comfortable for you, and if you cut the deck, all of that, then once you want to lay out your cards, you want to lay them out in 2 rows of 3. One on the top and one on the bottom. So I'll just adjust these. And so this spread is great for when you want to answer a specific question. So the thing about using this is that the question should be somewhat clear and specific, and the cards pulled are only answering the one question. So that's the reason for it being called the answer spread. It answers the specific question being posed to the cards. Okay, so once you lay out the 2 rows of 3, the way that you want to read the cards is that you read them vertically. So the first 2 cards, the first column, is going to be telling you something about the situation itself, like why the question is being asked, what event or experience has led up to the question being posed, right? So that's what these 2 cards are. You read them together. Then the middle column represents the answer to the question, so you read those together. And then the final column over on the right is what's called contributing factors. So these are going to be possible factors, influences that could be taking place within the situation. And the interesting thing about this is that sometimes the final card, card 6, is known as a pivot card, and sometimes it answers the question directly. So what you want to do is you want to take kind of a gauge between the middle column, the 2 cards answering the question, and then taking a look at the final card, the pivot card. Okay, so that's basically the layout. Remember, situation, answer, contributing factors. Okay, so now we're going to pick the cards up, and we'll do our first example. So I'm going to shuffle the cards, and I'm going to focus on a possible scenario. So let's say we have a woman, and her name is Mona. So Mona wants to ask the cards about travel. So as we all know, in the collective, we are still experiencing travel restrictions and limitations due to the coronavirus, right? So I'm here in the United States, and there has been new travel restrictions imposed. And so Mona, in our example, in our scenario, she has booked a cruise. Let's say that. Let's say she's booked a cruise for this year, and she wants to know, will she be able to still go on the cruise this year? So that's the question Mona's asking. Alright, so I've shuffled the question into the cards. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the deck because it's what I do. And I like to fan the cards out. So I'm going to fan the cards out. And what I'm doing is I'm looking for 6 cards in the fan that are getting my attention. I like these 2. 3. 4 is over here. I see 5 here. And 6 is close to that. So I have my 6 cards selected. I'm going to take the remainder of the deck up. I'm going to count back. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now I'm going to go ahead and lay them out. Okay, so now remember, first column is going to tell us a little bit about the situation. So now remember, the question was, Mona wants to know, will she still be able to go on this cruise this year that she booked? Will she be able to go on the cruise this year? Okay, so the first card is the Jack of Clubs. So the way I read jacks are news and messages. And so clubs is the suit of something having to do with either work or business or something of a social nature. So this is about news pertaining to a social activity, right? That would be the most likely thing I would come up with, the Jack of Clubs. So that fits. She's asking the cards about whether or not she'll be going on this cruise, right? So this is about news pertaining to a social activity or social event. Okay. And now here we have the Ace of Hearts. And so now the interesting thing here, the Ace of Hearts is a card that talks about home and family, right? So this is about news pertaining to a social event or activity that could be with the family or a family member, but it can also be just about the home. So news from about a social, or from a social perspective, news for the public news, and it may have to do with the home. So this is talking about the restriction that's been imposed, right? If you're talking about the idea about having to stay home, right? So that's how I would look at these two, the Ace of Hearts. Now, I could also say it's something that she has her heart set on, but for me, this is about something beginning. Aces are about a beginning stage, but it has to do with home and family. So that could just be the announcement about home and family, but also just about the restrictions being imposed, right? And that would be not just for her family, but for a multitude of families, right? Again, this being the public. So that's how I would look at that. So now, remember, the middle column answers the question. First card. Okay. So here we have the Five of Hearts. So now the Five of Hearts for me is known as the opportunity card. So there is an opportunity here, and going with the color of the card, red cards are positive in nature, right? And black cards are somewhat challenging in nature. So this card represents, there could be a change of heart, a change in feelings, but one of the meanings of this card for me is about an opportunity. You know, it's also someone's dreams coming true. Those are the two meanings that I have for the Five of Hearts, so that looks positive. Next card. And here we have, oh, can't make this up. So here we have the Ten of Clubs. The Ten of Clubs is the travel card in the deck. And not only is it the travel card, it sometimes talks about travel over water, and boats in particular. I love this. You can't make this up. So the two cards would suggest that there is a great possibility here that Mona's going to go on her cruise, because this represents opportunity, a dream coming true, and the travel card and travel over water. Fantastic cards here to see. And so now let's take a look at the contributing factors, and especially keep an eye on what the pivot card might have to say. So first card here, we have the Ten of Diamonds. This is the money card, so it would suggest the reason for the question is that Mona has invested money into this cruise, because the Ten of Diamonds is an investment card, and it can sometimes talk about a lot of money, right? And so the first thing that I noticed, if we take a look at the cards overall, we have two tens here. So 10 is the number that can represent a transition. It usually represents the ending of something and the beginning of something else. So it's saying overall, she's still in a transition phase, because we don't know. Travel has been affected or impacted, right, due to COVID and the restrictions, right? But the reason for the question here, the contributing factor with the Ten of Diamonds, is that there's a lot of money involved in it. Okay, so now let's take a look at the last card, the pivot card. Okay, and so here we have Three of Clubs. And so the first thing I want to say is that it's very nice. We do not have any spades. Spades as a suit for me, when I read playing cards, can represent problems, obstacles, hurdles, troubles. So we don't have that particular suit here. So that's a very positive sign, right? And we have clubs. Three of the cards are clubs. So clubs is the ruling majority, just represents this idea of something that's affecting society at large, you know, the public. Something that may require taking some kind of action. It's a suit of action. So now let's take a look at the Three of Clubs. So here we have a situation that could work out, because the three represents growth and development, right? It also represents increase and expansion. So for me, when I see diamonds and clubs together, it usually represents, you know, something that we've been putting some work and effort into, and it is rewarded, or it works out, right? So I would say at this point, they may have to keep an eye on things, but with the answer here, it looks quite positive that there is a possibility here. But with this card, it usually represents, again, growth and development, seeing the result of some work or effort, that kind of thing. But I'm going to go here. Like, I feel like the answer is here, especially with the Ten of Clubs being about journey over water, and this is the opportunity card. So for me, it looks somewhat positive. It just may represent some changes here in terms of maybe the company that Mona is using to go on the cruise with, whatever's going on their side of the equation, right? So that's how I would look at this particular answer spread. And so now let's pick up the cards and we'll take a look at the answer spread using another question. And we are back with the cards on the table. I picked them up and I shuffled, and I was contemplating on what I wanted to pose to the cards for this particular answer spread. And so this is the scenario that came to mind. So let's say we have another woman, and her name is Clara. And so Clara has been seeing Bob for some time, and they've been having an on-again, off-again relationship. And so right now they're in an off stage in their relationship. Clara has decided to part ways with Bob and go on her own. The only thing is that Bob has been repeatedly trying to reach out to her and trying to win her back. So she wants to know from the cards, should she give Bob a second chance? So the question is, should Clara and Bob resume their relationship? Should she give him another chance? Okay, so that's the question. So let's take the cards in hand and shuffle that question into the cards. Okay, I'm going to do one more time. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and once again cut the deck. Fan the cards out. And once again, I'm looking for 6 cards. I'm just looking to see what cards are getting my attention. All right, so I have the 6 cards selected. I'm going to pick the remainder of the deck up. Going to count back. 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now I'm going to lay the cards out. Remember, the first 3 cards form the top row, and cards 4, 5, and 6 form the bottom row. Okay, so the cards are laid down. So now let's just remember the question before we start turning them over. So the question is for Clara, and Clara wants to know, should she give Bob another chance in their on-again, off-again relationship? Okay, first card. Here we have the 8 of hearts. So hearts is perfect for the context because hearts deal with love and romance. That's one aspect of them. Right, and here with the 8 of hearts, for me, this is a card that talks about strong and powerful emotions because the 8 is the number of power for me. So there is strong emotions, right? There's a strong emotional connection or bond between Clara and Bob. Here's the other thing. This card can talk about faith and trust. So there may be faith and trust issues in this relationship, which is why it's on again, off again for Clara, right? So that was the first thing that I noted, is that, again, strong, powerful emotions and something having to do with faith and trust. And hearts is the suit of healing, so there could be some healing that needs to take place around this idea about faith and trust. Okay, so now let's see what the other card is paired with this. Yeah. So here we have the 5 of diamonds. So here we have a card that talks about a change in circumstance. So this would be, usually for me, it's about physical changes, material changes, something of that nature. Now, sometimes this card can talk about like something that's pending. So for me, I call this the jury is still out card, right? So they're strong and powerful emotions. And if they are going to renew the relationship, something in their physical experience is going to definitely have to change, because this is about making changes in the material or physical sense. But, you know, based on the question, this card would tell me that the jury is still out, because it usually represents something that's pending. So again, strong, powerful emotions, something having to do with faith and trust being healed, but then some action or activity in the physical sense that's tied to that. So that's what I would see. And so now we have two red cards. So that's usually pretty positive, you know. So here we have like something that's about reward, value, things of that nature. So it could just be a matter of how valuable is the relationship to Clara, right? Would she be willing to work on healing any faith or trust issues in this relationship, right? And it could just be that, you know, maybe there has been some sort of change in value for her. And it could just be a matter of her coming into her own sense of emotional power and saying, like, you know, as a result of that, I see things differently, or I feel like I deserve better, kind of thing, with the five of diamonds. Okay, so that's how I'm seeing about the situation. So now let's take a look at the middle column. Remember, the middle column answers the question. And here we have the Queen of Clubs. So I would make this card Clara, because queens for me, when I'm reading playing cards, represent women in particular. And so this card could just represent her coming into her own sense of power. Queens for me can represent caring and nurturing. So this is about her caring and nurturing for herself. And that would make sense because, again, the queen is facing the Eight of Hearts. Now that's one of my own personal techniques. I tend to read the direction that the card, a face card anyway, is facing. And so she's facing the Eight of Hearts. So now this could be talking about her in this regard, about the strong feelings, strong emotions, the idea about the faith and trust, right? She would like to look forward into being able to trust and have faith in either herself, Bob, or both of them in the relationship as a whole, right? So there is that. And also too the healing aspect of it, right? But also too, sometimes this card is about one's emotional outlook. So this would just be if she's going to entertain the idea of getting back into a relationship with Bob, this card is saying on some level she would have to be willing to be optimistic. And that's another aspect of the Eight of Hearts, is optimism. But so she would have to be willing to be more optimistic about the relationship. So that would be one thing. Okay, so now let's take a look at the card that's underneath the queen. Oh, here we have two queens. Okay, so the interesting thing about this queen is that the Queen of Spades could suggest that there's another woman in the picture, right? And that would make sense with the idea about the faith and the trust aspect, right? And needing to heal that, as well as the change in the physical or material circumstance or environment, right? If there's another woman in here, the other woman would have to go, right? So here we have two women. So it makes me feel like on some level, there's two women involved. I would go with the first one being Clara, and then this one is another woman. And then here's the thing. Spades talks about what needs to be cut. And so it would be a matter of, the answer would be they could get back together if the other woman is to be cut out of the situation, is to be eliminated, right? Spades represent elimination. But now here's the thing. When I get a clubs and a spade together, this is about working. Clubs represent work, working into a problem, right? So right now, I'm feeling like this would be a no. Right? And it's very interesting that the Queen of Spades is looking at the pivot card. So now let's take a look at the contributing factors column. And here we have our Jack of Hearts again, right? So it could just be about news or messages pertaining to either work or effort or something being made public, right? So it could just be with, if I read with direction, the fact that the Queen has her back to the Jack could just represent something that, you know, was taking place behind her back, you know, something that she didn't hear directly, kind of thing. But this usually represents some kind of news or message, right? Okay. But this could also be about news, about what it would take to make the relationship work. Clubs. Remember, clubs is all about work and effort and action. Okay, so now let's take a look at the pivot card. And here we have, oh, you can't make this stuff up. Okay, so here we have in the pivot card, we have the Seven of Hearts. So now here's the thing about the Seven of Hearts. The Seven of Hearts is the second chance card, right? So it would represent on some level a second attempt, a second chance. Now remember, the question was, should Clara give Bob another chance and resume the relationship? So it made me feel like he very well could, because now remember, now this is news or message, right? And then here we have the second chance card. But I think it would only be if the other woman is removed from the picture. So that's how I would read that question. And so now let's pick up the cards and do one more and bring this video to a close. All right, and we are back again with the deck on the table, and we're going to do one more answer spread. So as I picked up the cards from the previous reading, I was giving some thought as to the scenario I wanted to present to the cards for this final reading, and I came up with this. So let's say we have a young man, and his name is Jamal. So Jamal is working on writing his first book, and he wants to know about the process of getting it published. So he's in the works with a publishing house to publish the book, and he has to present to them a manuscript by a certain deadline. So he wants to know, based on that, will he be able to meet the deadline regarding the manuscript for his book? So that's the question. Okay, so we're going to take the cards, shuffle the question into the cards. Feeling one more time will be good. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut the deck again. Fan out the cards. And now I'm picking 6. I'm just looking for cards in the fan that are getting my attention. All right, so I have the 6 cards selected. I'm going to take the remainder of the deck up. I'm going to count back. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, now we're going to lay out the cards. Remember, first 3 cards form the top row. Second 3 cards form the bottom. Okay. I'll just adjust these a little bit. Okay, awesome sauce. Okay, so now remember the first column talks about the situation. You know, something that has led up to the question being asked and the cards being laid out. Okay, first card. Here we have the MVP of today's video. The Jack of Clubs has shown up in all 3 readings. What are the odds, right? So here we go. Once again, we have something pertaining to news or messages, something having to do with the public. You know, so that, of course, this would be the idea of, you know, getting the book out there into the world, right? So this would be, for Jamal, it would be like the book has some kind of message that he believes is important for other people to read about, to think about. Maybe it's a book where people can take action on something that he's presenting, things of that nature. It could also be that the Jack of Clubs can be an employee, so this may be somebody who is employed at the publishing company that he is doing business with regarding the book, right? It could also be news and messages around the work, right? And the work would be the manuscript, you know? So something of that nature. So that's what I would see, some possibilities with the Jack of Clubs. Card below it. And here we have the King of Diamonds. Okay, so this makes me feel the King of Diamonds can be the entrepreneur, but it can also be somebody who heads something up, because kings are men typically. I read, just like I read queens as being women. kings for me are men. They also represent somebody who is in a position of power or control or some kind of authority. So this could be either one or two people. This could be either Jamal himself. Again, that would fit with the idea about news or messages for the masses or for the public or something of a social nature, right? So that would make sense for if the King of Diamonds is Jamal, but it could also be he's in communications with somebody who's heading up the publishing house, right? So this would be, either could be an editor or it could be somebody who's higher up in the company. So that's how I would look at that. Okay. So remember now, the question was about Jamal being able to complete the manuscript by the given deadline. So that's why I'm saying the King of Diamonds could be either Jamal or somebody who works at the publishing company. Okay, so now remember, the second column answers the question. And here we have the Four of Diamonds. Okay, so the Four of Diamonds usually represents saving something, some kind of account. So this could be a matter of the advance, possibly, if money has changed hands and gone into an account. I tend to look at this as financial accounts, bank accounts, something being stored, something of value, a box, because the four forms a square, so sometimes it could be a box that holds something valuable. So this makes me feel like it's about something having to do with money. So now, the other thing about the four, the number four can represent that for Jamal, if he's asking the question about getting the book done by deadline, then this could just be a matter of, being structured, being ordered, being disciplined. Those are all my associations for the number four, right? So there is that. Again, it would make me feel like it's important because maybe of some advance, there's money in an account. And here we have, okay, so here we have the Eight of Clubs. So now the Eight of Clubs is a card that talks about the work that one does. So this is the work and business card, so this is perfect. So it's making me feel like money has changed hands, or they're looking at something having to do with the financial aspects of the book. There's something of that. But if I go with the idea that this is talking about in his material world, right, his material existence, then him being more ordered and structured, and that would make sense too, because the 8 is a number of organizations. So there's something about Jamal needing to organize his life, and what's coming to me in the moment with the Eight of Clubs. The Eight of Clubs talks about daily activity, what we do for work or in our daily lives. So there's something about him needing to be more organized in his daily routine. That would be beneficial in order for him to get the manuscript done by the deadline. And here's the thing. We have a diamond and a club. So this represents the reward for work and effort, right? And clubs as a suit, one of its meanings can represent progress. So this is very positive. And I'm looking at the 4 cards on the table, and right now we have clubs and diamonds as the ruling majority. So that's interesting to see. So here we have work. It's about work and money, right? So there's something about money being involved in this, which would help or give Jamal more incentive to get the book done by deadline. Okay, so now let's take a look at contributing factors. Here we have the Six of Spades. So now this is the first spades card. Oh, I'm stand corrected. I was about to say this is the first spades card we have show up in the reading, but that's not true because we had the Queen of Spades in the previous example. Here's the thing with the Six of Spades. So now remember, spades represent problems, obstacles, challenges, and hurdles. The Six of Spades in particular can represent, the challenge here is for Jamal to be responsible. The 6 is a number of responsibility and communication. So there could be communication issues or issues around being responsible, and that would make sense with the message here about being organized or being disciplined about meeting the deadline. It could suggest that there's going to be something in order to make progress, because this is another card that represents progress. In order for Jamal to make progress, there are certain things he's going to have to cut out of his everyday routine, 8 of clubs, in order to meet the deadline, right? So it could just say that he gets wrapped up or caught up in things that maybe aren't his responsibility to be involved in. And, so he has to be taking a look at his life and what would be distractions is the word that's coming to me. What would be major distractions from him not being able to actually sit and work on the book? Yes. And the Six of Spades, another meaning of it is ending a matter once and for all. So that would be like what we have to eliminate and take the responsibility to eliminate six and spades in order to get this done. But in and of itself, in a positive note, this card represents progress. Okay, so now let's take a look at the last card, the pivot card. Okay, and so here we have the Five of Hearts. Now remember, this card showed up once before, so I'm going to suggest the same meaning here. Here it represents an opportunity. If he were to go ahead and do what the Six of Spades is suggesting, and that is to take the responsibility to eliminate the things in his life that would cause distraction, this card is quite positive because now remember it represents opportunity and it's like a dream come true card. It could also suggest that part of the problem here is that there's a woman involved who's a part of the problem because the Five of Hearts for me can represent female energy. So this could represent a woman, and a woman who either one or two things, either a woman who's part of the problem or a woman who could be part of the solution. I'm going to go with the spades coming before it, and what he may have to eliminate, he may have to eliminate something having to do with a woman, and that would help him get the manuscript done. And it's interesting to note that if we go back to the very first card here, this card being the King of Diamonds, he's not facing this direction, right? So it could be something that he needs to put behind him, a woman he needs to put behind him, right? A woman he maybe has had interaction with on a daily basis and now needs to make that something of the past in order to get the book done, right? But if I go with the question in and of itself, this is a very positive card to have, but it's challenged because it comes with the spade attached to it. So I think if he was to get himself organized, get his life organized, that would be more conducive to actually writing maybe on a regular or daily basis, then he could get his dream realized and get the manuscript done by deadline. And it's important because, again, now remember, this is about opportunity. So there is something about this book being a potential opportunity for him, especially if his message is worth getting out there. So that is how I would look at that. And on that note, I will go ahead and end this video here. So I hope that this has been helpful and informative to those who have been asking me to present more videos on playing cards and how I read with them. I know in the past I've had people ask me about how do I read face cards? Do I read them with direction in mind? You know, those kinds of things. So I hope that these few readings have addressed that or demonstrated how I take that particular course of action. So again, this is James Himm Mitchell. I'm signing off, and I want to say thank you so much for sharing this space here with me for this particular video, and I look forward to sharing the same space with you in a future video. So until then, I hope you're having a wonderful day, and take care.